It says preparing. Okay, I think we're live. Hey, everybody. Andy Kennedy here with Andy Kennedy Co. and the Red Pill Sisterhood. And today I'm with Hana Kovakova, who is my partner in crime on our awesome membership that we've been running now for 3 months. This is the end of our spring, and it's called Pillars of the Goddess Moon. And we thought we'd come in and post this live just to the Facebook community that we have, just so we can kind of talk a little bit about this membership again, because we are launching our summer series and we're super excited about that. It will run through our start date, I believe, or maybe just a couple of days before that, I should say. So, pretty much now through the 19th. And we're running it half off. So, if you're interested in learning from the basics about plants and the moon and a little bit of astrology and the energy of the moon and the astrological signs that we're in, with recognizing plants and crystals, adding a little bit of the crystal magic that I bring to the table to this as well. So, for instance, in this month of June, Gemini, from mid-May to about another week here in June, a little over, but 10 more days, we are covering, of course, this beautiful Gemini energy and what the moons are doing in that. And Hannah's going to talk about that in a sec. With wild violet as our herb. So we talked a lot about that on our previous video. And agate, our stone of the month. And we have talked about just the herbs. I'm going to actually bring back to the table what we've talked about. Herbs so far are nettles, plantain, and wild violet in this season, and jasper, quartz, and agate. And then, of course, the astrology of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So if you're somebody that's been looking at some of my stuff around exiting the matrix and learning about taking care of yourself and kind of pulling the ripcord on Western medicine and Western systems in general, or you've been looking at Hana stuff and the Moonatic whole umbrella that she has with herbalism and foraging and all of that, then come along in the summer months with us because we've got a lot of things planned. And I'll just recap that at the end of what we do together. But before I turn it over to Hana, I just kind of wanted to talk about why this membership I feel like is important for me to get back to the basics. And really, our mission is helping you work this stuff into your daily life because it's great on paper. And it was like that for us, for both of us, for a long time, dabbling in the fields of herbalism and foraging and growing our own food. But what does it look like when you're really engrossed and living in that truth, living in sync with nature and with what you've come here to do this time around, right? So, we were talking yesterday about really great how grateful both of us are and not having the traditional 9 to 5, or in the United States sometimes that's 8 to 7, right, 60-hour work week, or more for some people, that it can look like, and having the freedom to live with our cycles both within our bodies but also with nature and the moon and the garden, and touching those points within ourselves and our garden and our natural surroundings, um, based on the rhythm and the emotional rhythms that we have, um, and honoring that, right? And so to me, that's what living this truth is all about, is honoring those cycles and not having to just push through, right? Or to suck it up and, and work really hard and not honor your your cycles and your emotional cycles, your physical cycles, and also the cycles of nature. So, um, yeah, that's, I think, all I wanted to open with. So, Hannah, I'm going to turn it over to you. Hey, you're muted. I'm going to click ask to unmute. Let's see if that unmutes you. There we go.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So that was such a beautiful opening. And it's really all about taking back our power, right? Because from childhood, really, we are used to giving back, like giving away our powers to parents and to teachers and then to our employers. So this um, sisterhood and pillars of the goddess moon, and what Andy is doing, what I'm doing, it's everything about taking our power back, uh, and starting to heal yourself on physical and emotional and mental level, because we know that uh, it's so very important. You can see me here being outside, and it's so important to go outside. And unfortunately, most of us are spending our days from 9 to 5, sometimes in a room without even windows. So if you have just 5 minutes between your deadlines and so on, just go outside and put your feet on the ground. And today is the full moon, full strawberry moon, which is my favorite full moon because it's between like beautiful May in Provence and really scorching heat in Provence. So this is my favorite full moon. Why? Because why the name strawberry moon basically comes from wild strawberries that are growing in the US, and it's starting here as well in the mountains. And because every full moon has its specific name, and it's the full moon in Sagittarius. And if we're talking about cyclical living and being and lifing with the cycles, get out your journal, or just maybe you remember what you were doing basically 6 months ago. So, because new moon in Sagittarius was in December, and something is coming to an end with the full moon in Sagittarius, which is today. So if you don't remember, just go back to your notes or go back to your Google Calendar or however you can find it, and you will realize that we are operating in cycles. Everything is cyclical. We are cyclical beings. And the sooner you will start to realize that, then all the news and everything that's triggering you and upsetting you will be on like completely different timeline. And we talked about that during our business Zoom today, that really first thing in the morning, we don't take our phones. Okay, really, really important, because as soon as you take your phone, you get sucked in what's going on around you. And I understand that you need to be informed, but it's not that you can change something. So really, only focus on that you can change. And astrology of this season is basically or all about the Aries energy. So except Jupiter, which is in Cancer, and Jupiter is it loves being in Cancer. So Jupiter in Cancer for the next 12 months is all about self-care. So think about ways how you can practice self-care every single day. But all the other planets basically are in Aries, which is really, really powerful, because that means that you can do stuff. So if you haven't done like anything, if you haven't done and worked on your dreams yet, then this is exactly the season to start, because all the planets are in Aries. None of the planets are in retrograde right now, so all are direct. So I mean, it's the like perfect time to start something new and really work on your dreams. So in 6 months time, you can say that wonderful, I really worked hard and I achieved what I was manifesting And Andy can definitely share more about manifesting because she's a manifesting generators. We are both, but she's a coach in manifesting, so she's going to share more about that. And yeah, there's so much to talk about, but I will keep it short. So, Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for all of that, Hannah. One, I love that the theme this summer and this year, while Jupiter is in Cancer, is about self-care. I actually just did a post today about self-care, and then the rest is about taking action, right? New beginnings, you know, jumping in, jump and the net will appear, right? We hear that all the time. Aries is all about just jumping in and starting it messy, but getting it going. It's that first energy, that initiatory energy, um, and to have all of the planets kind of aligned in that. It's funny. I was looking around for my notebook, and of course, you'd spring on the retrogrades on me. Um, we can put that in our groups. So we do have a Facebook group for our members, and that's where we dump our extra resources. And whenever we have a Zoom like this, that goes in there. We'll pull this one down from here in a couple of days so that it's only available for replay with our members. And that's how our YouTube typically is as well. It'll be on YouTube live for a couple of days and then we'll pull it down. So it's just a resource for our members. Membership is super cheap. It's like $16 a month. And you get so many resources. You get, um, the plants and the crystals and the astrology that we're talking about, but also just like today when we were starting to talk about retrograde, and maybe you're new to astrology and you don't know what retrograde means. Um, but I like to summarize it as a couple of steps forward. We take the planets and then us, because if the moon affects us, the planets do. If you don't, have a lot of stock in astrology, just think about how the moon affects the ocean, and then trust that everything that's made of water, which is us and plants and everything on the planet, is affected by that. It ebbs and flows with the moon. So if that's affecting us, you can guarantee that the rest of the planets are affecting us as well. Um, Even the sun, who doesn't move. We move around her, but her energy and the season that she's in and where we're at in relation to her, because obviously in astrology, the earth is the center in a way, right? And everything else feels like it's moving. But we know the truth. We're all moving around the sun, right? So, and not to say the sun is completely stagnant. It's not, right? So, um, yeah, the beginning, that new beginning energy is so prevalent right now. And it feels like that out there. It can feel disruptive. It can feel even isolating, and it can feel cathartic, like new beginnings, death and rebirth can feel like, right? So to have this alignment, this great alignment in that, that hasn't happened in thousands of years. Um, and so this is a completely new era for us, which is magical. And then bringing it back to just this focus of this month, and how this energy happens to us every year, right? How this this month is a focus on communications and on relationships and duality in this Gemini energy. And then also how the moon affects us, because the moon goes into that new moon Gemini energy, and then the full moon is in the opposite. It's always the opposite. So a basic 101 of astrology is, that the moon, and when it's new, is in the opposite sign of where the sun is. So like Hannah said, 6 months ago is Sagittarius. So where were you then? What did you seed into your field at that time? What intentions in December were you thinking about for the new year? Now is such a great time to reflect on those. So back to the retrogrades, what I think of with retrograde is the planet's moving forward, right? It's moving around the sun. It appears to move backwards, tends to look like it's rolling back in the sky. And the energy of that is, let's step into this new energy and then let's roll back, think about what that felt like, and really process this new energy in the old energy. And how many times do we do that? when we are creating something new, a new business, building a new home, building a new adventure like we're building here on Shambhala, writing a book, anything new that you're starting, right? You dip your toe into that idea and then you roll back and maybe you've got a little bit of the imposter syndrome or you've got a little bit of trepidation or you're like, I can't maybe do this or, it feels overwhelming, right? So you roll back into that old energy and just sit with it a little. You get to sit with it a little bit longer and process it and let it simmer, and then when you're at the boiling point again, you get to move forward. And some of these planets, they don't change signs. Our distant planets don't change signs very often. And Hannah and I have really only opened the door for this membership to basic astrology. We both dabble in that advanced version of astrology, and now, as of 20 years ago, there are all these outer planets that affect us as well. And they don't move like the inner planets do. And it used to be that our distant planets, like Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto and Uranus, they don't change signs very often. So it takes them a long time to go around the sun. So when they change signs and come into new, and they're all not only in Aries, but they're like at 0 degrees together. They're not all in Aries. A couple of them are in, like she mentioned, Jupiter is in Cancer, but it's at 0 degrees Cancer, which means everything is at new beginnings right now, which is just mind blowing, right? You look out there and you go, oh, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like new systems, new president in the United States. We've even had that happen, changing of the guard in other countries as well, like Canada. So, um, yeah, it's exciting and, can
I,
be a little
yeah,
energetically disrupting.
disrupting. And I want to say that maybe I don't watch news all the time, but yes, all those riots and disruptions are basically part of this, because zero Aries means, and zero Cancer means, like, completely new beginnings. And what is happening to Earth and all the volcano activity and everything, it's basically the Earth is getting rid of all the stagnant and all energy to build something new. So I mean, it's just so amazing to live through these times, and it can sometimes, like oftentimes, feel overwhelming. But just imagine that from 100 years from now, people will say, I mean, wow, so many changes happening. And I'm just going to talk about the Mercury retrograde. I don't know when it's happening right now, so maybe you can check it. But people are afraid of Mercury retrograde. But actually, I was born during Mercury retrograde, and it didn't stop me from speaking out and telling what I think, basically. So, what Andy mentioned, Mercury retrograde is really about observing if everything what I was working on or you were working on is fine, and if it works, and if not, you always have time to change the course. And that's basically life is about, always adjusting and changing course, really, like cycles and everything. So I mean, powerful times. And that's why I invite everybody to join our summer phase of this Pillars of the Goddess Moon membership, because I mean, even in moon gardening, I can tell you that for 2025, if you're watching this during this year, they couldn't really predict anything, like the flower days and root days. They couldn't really predict it because everything is so new and changing. And it's like phoenix basically coming out from the dust. So hopefully everybody's feeling that way. If not, then really start manifesting, because even,
Yeah.
like, I've seen statistics that normally business owners have around 50 years, or around 50 years old. 47 was really the number when people start with their new business. So if you're 50, even if you're 60, you're not too late to start something new. So
Okay, a couple of things. First, I want to touch on the Phoenix, and then I'll get back to the retrograde dates. So, Phoenix, this energy that we're in is fire. Aries is fire. The volcanoes, fire. Feeling like we're all this phoenix coming out of the ashes, fire. The fires in Canada, right, earlier this year. So that burning energy, that like complete slate clearing energy of fire is what this feels like. So it could show up for you in that fire emotional state where things trigger you, right? Um, the computer cords and the computer failing like right before this totally sent me into that fire zone, right? um and if you're somebody that runs hot, right, you know what that means. That is just something to be aware of and to let that ebb and flow and to support yourself, like Hannah said at the beginning, with self-care. So what tools do you have to help you cool that down, right? Whether it's food, cooling foods, whether it's herbs and herbal medicine of any kind. It comes in multiple different applications. You can take it in tea or tincture or homeopathy, but you're getting plants inside of your body is the key. There are cooling plants, and all plants have energetics, just like we do. Astrological energetics, just like we do. Elemental energetics, just like we do. So, if that interests you, this is something that we unpack in our membership as well. The retrograde, so Mercury retrograded actually from May 12th to June 4th. So we just came out of that. So if you noticed any of the things that I mentioned earlier, communications, relationships, writing, your vocal ability, travel, getting disrupted in any way during that period of time, that's usually what people like think of, or and technology, what they think of when they think of Mercury retrograde, that stirs up a little bit of that anxiety and maybe fear. But if you were born with Mercury retrograde, just like if you were born in the full moon, like I was, then you're really charged by that energy. And it's certainly nothing to fear. It actually is your home base. That's where you feel the most natural. So I try to capitalize on that energy when Mercury goes retrograde. And I have been. I've been building this Red Pill Sisterhood. Hannah and I have been working on what summer looks like in this Pillars of the Goddess Moon. I've really started thinking about getting back to my book and what that might look like. Um, how I can weave that in, with everything that we're doing. And then of course in the garden we've been um getting our hands in the dirt and putting our food in the ground. So great times to do all of that. The next one is Saturn, and that's June 15th to November 15th. So Saturn dipped into Aries. It's going to regress back into to Pisces, and then in November full on with a complete new beginning. Um, and then Pluto's actually is retrograde right now. It's retrograde from May 1 to October 10. Jupiter's not till the end of the year. Uranus is not until next year. And Neptune is July 4th to November 10th. So we'll have a couple of them in retrograde at the same time. And that's interesting. So if you're interested in that, look for that. We'll be talking about that as it comes down the pike here. But again, back to the membership. Summer is going to be an amazing time for us, as it always is for everybody, right? It feels fast and furious. Feels like 2 months goes by in a month. And what we're talking about, what's on our obviously astrology plan is Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. The herbs that we're talking about are dandelion, calendula, and lemon balm. And the crystals we'll be talking about are calcite, fire opal, and carnelian. So if you're not familiar with a couple of these things, whether that's astrology, herbalism, um, and natural care of all kinds, and crystals, then come along with us for just $16 a month. You can plug in and get a little bit of all of our knowledge. And what bubbles up when we have a conversation, we want to share that because the two of us feed off of each other. We're both manifesting generators in human design, like Hannah said, but we're also both cancers. And Hannah's got a lot more Cancer in her than I do. I just have the one planet in Cancer. But we feel so simpatico when it comes to these messages, and that's why we decided to collaborate together and to provide some depth into those categories for you. So come along with us if any of this interests you, and we'll dive in starting June 21st when we get into Cancer. Any last thoughts there, Hannah?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for wrapping it up. Yes, we're both cancers, and Cancerian energy means nourishment. So we are basically here to help you nourish yourself and teach you how you can best nourish yourself. And I mean, the period of Jupiter in Cancer is such a wonderful time for this, because you know how we tend to overdo it during summer because there are celebrations and there's alcohol and so on. So we'll try to help you to really be well nourished during these times when you can feel triggered by everything that what is going on, and the summer celebrations are exactly for that. I know that Andy is organizing summer solstice celebrations, so you can definitely check that out on her social media. We have here in France, it's always celebration of music during summer solstice. So I'm really looking forward to that because it's such a fun time. So only last words. Self-care is the word of the month and of the year. So definitely make sure that you have some rituals every single day, and we're gonna help you with that. So
Yes.
wrapping up, thank you very much, everyone, for watching
Yeah.
this. And again, this video will only stay up for a couple of days. So make sure you share it. And yeah, we're going to help you again to nourish yourself. Any last words,
Absolutely.
Andy?
No, thank you. That was a great summary. And yeah, we just want to be here to support you, like she said. So come join us. And yeah, we'll see you here. So thanks for watching, everybody.